right, welcome to the Countertop podcast. This is myself, Brandon, Ray, and Tanner. We come together each week and do a podcast about various topics funny, lame, political, religious, I don't know, all over the place.
I think
Um,
anything's been lame at this point.
I don't know, your topic last week was pretty lame. So,
I wasn't here.
okay, point proven. Um, no, but we appreciate you guys coming to take a listen on either Spotify, Apple Music, any of the other big podcasting apps, as well as YouTube. We've recently seen an uptick, so we appreciate you guys listening. And we'll just go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to start with my topic. I saw a study this week. It was posted online. I can't remember the exact figures, but kind of a topic to go off of is that more millennials and younger kids are spending less time in religion. I kind of found that fascinating just because the times are changing. But I also wanted to kind of, when I was younger, my parents took me to church and all of that. And as I grew older, that was not something I was going to follow um, or not practice like that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had a question for you guys on that, but then I also wanted to spin this into kind of programs for kids as well, because from what I remember, there was church camp and there was these types of things like that kids would do. But then in the broader picture of things, with how culture's changing technology wise, you know, is this changing also? Like Boy Scouts will no longer be a thing, Girl Scouts will no longer be a thing. What does this mean for these programs that probably are going to have less attendance because of just technology, and also the religion being own choice?
It's a good thing not to open up with a heavy topic.
Yeah.
Ray, you want to start?
I mean, I
All right.
am with
How
you.
about this? How many people was a part of one of those camps growing up?
Oh,
I wasn't necessarily part of a camp, but
Lucky.
I did go with some friends of mine and stuff here and there. Just I was never sent to the full like summer camp experience.
yeah.
He had
Church or
Kool-Aid
anything
and
like
all.
Yeah.
I was in handbell choir at my church.
There you go.
Wow.
I don't know. I still don't know how to read music.
Well, I just think it's fascinating. One, that younger kids, because if you believe in religion or not, I think at the end of the day, it tries to instill good morals and good lessons for people, and then also for hope that people that do need that. I think religion gives that to you, even if you agree or disagree to that. I think there's something to that. There at least is hope there. And so my kind of bigger, broader question is, what is this going to mean long term? Is this just because of technology? Is it because of personal choice? Where do we think this is kind of going towards?
I think there's more information available out there for people to help make their own choice. So I think your technology aspect of it plays into the fact that people in religions, I don't know what you want to call that, membership. Membership in religions is down. I think that has a lot to do with it. People are just able to find information, and it's different with a faith-based type of scenario because that's not something you can just look up online. Obviously, faith is faith, and that is why it's someone's personal belief to believe in. But I think not being trapped in your own communities with people of similar upbringing and stuff like that has a little bit to do with a decline in people being part of religion.
Okay, so who's here? I know I'm the VR nut, but have you guys heard of what was the church group that started doing baptisms in VR?
I haven't heard of that.
No.
Okay, so this is really cool. So there was a youth pastor who realized that their outreach of their church and their church fellowship is the actual word, not members. But there's kind of, whether you intend it or not, people judge based on outward appearance, right? And this youth pastor said, you know what? I want to provide an outreach, and my ministry was going to be through this virtual environment, whereas other people who may not feel comfortable, who, we all went through a goth phase or something like that, growing up, where, maybe those folks don't feel comfortable. They're really searching for something, one of those items of community faith or otherwise guidance and setting the principles towards some kind of path, right? That he started an outreach through VR chat, and with Brandon took me through my first VR chat experience, and it was awful. But it was really interesting. So you can actually go on YouTube and look up VR chat baptisms, and they'll go through the thing, and it's really weird to see a raccoon baptize an anime girl, but still, it was really interesting because of this topic you bring up that goes, well, how is technology aiding or otherwise affecting religion? And it doesn't have to be one way or another. I take a pretty middle of the line stance of this, saying that religion isn't inherently bad, but as with anything, you can go extreme. Some people need guiding principles, and my second kind of comment on that is, there's more outreach programs. There's more awareness towards suicide prevention and adolescent needs and other things where maybe your inner circle doesn't have the groups, but there's more help available for people nowadays because of the advent of technology that allows people to target specifically what their needs are, not trying to get a catch-all. And I think that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
If your specific concern, your internal struggle has to do with feeding your family, even though each of us is employed, many companies even now have employee advocate programs, employee assistance programs that allow people to go to some other technical help group that is specialized in what specific concerns you have. And I'll stop there because pass it over to Ray.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on all those aspects. I think it does, like you said, your belief in a religion or not, they do a lot of good for a community. And I think that ties in to kind of what you were talking about with the summer camps and stuff like that. Like I said, I've never been to one. I know some friends who used to go to them and had good experiences because it is just a structured retreat for kids and stuff like that. And they're able to learn different things one way or the other. They weren't religion based, but I did do a lot of Boy Scout camps. So I guess if you want to kind of lump that into the same thing, because they do lean a little bit more religious than some other groups, even though it wasn't outright a religious camp. I learned a lot going to those, just growing up with a bunch of other
I learned a
kids
lot too because mine were co-ed.
Yeah, interesting. I think we only did like one co-ed camp, but we did do one. But yeah, most of it was just Boy Scouts.
So is that
the other thing I was?
Oh, go for it.
I was just going to bring up that I did go on a church field trip type of thing with some friends of mine, probably right before high school or freshman year of high school-ish, around that age, to Six Flags. And I was the only one in the group that wasn't a member of the church or really associated with anyone but a couple of my friends that were going. And I got paired up without my friends with a group of other kids that were there at the time to do some activities later on in the day. And that was one of the things they asked me, is why I wasn't religious or why I didn't attend the church or anything like that. But the nice thing is they were willing to converse with me, and that was my answer, was that I think religion, in the few times that I did anything associated with it, taught me a lot about moral compass and stuff like that maybe I wouldn't have explicitly gotten anywhere else. And they were willing to talk with me about that and how that was a good thing, and that I didn't necessarily have to be a follower of whatever religion they were, as long as the path I was on was straight and narrow and good, and I wasn't doing anything outrageous. So it was an interesting experience for me because they weren't pushy about it. They understood where I was coming from. So I think that's a good thing too if you have a group like that.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely ties back to, the comment even you made, Tanner, of there's an extreme to each, to everything, and so that you do, get that as well. I just wondered in general, because I could see the next step of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and those things, the membership or attendance to those kind of start dwindling further and further down. And, here where I live, like there's some schools that like coding schools for kids and things like that. and Tanner, I'm sure you can add to some of this because you have kids, but do you see those programs like you did when you were younger, and have those opportunities, or do you see those becoming less and less because of where we're at in the world?
I think most of us who did, you know, academic or collegiate sports would agree that a coach, synonymous with pastor, has so much to offer.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the as many of those mentors that you could put inside your own life into your kid's life will offer all of these paradigm shifting events, even though they're not the same. It's not good to have one person be your mentor throughout your life and your upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think through those programs, the qualities of, let's say, each the three of us, what we can offer is going to be dramatically different. Even though we can agree and disagree on a lot of topics, what makes you you and what your experiences are is really precious, right? And the slogan that I hate the most in life, honestly, is common sense. Has anybody ever like, oh, this is common sense? No, common sense is based on a set of experiences.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as common sense because no one has the exact same experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important when you're talking about, how does a group, a community affect an individual growing up? I think it's really detrimental overall in someone's life if they stay in one community.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's also good. We don't have kids yet, but it's something to consider when we do. I think it's good to have kids have an outlet that is more outdoorsy, like Boy Scouts and stuff like that, um, versus just cooping them up inside to utilize technology to do the same things. I think it's good to have that other experience of open air and outdoors.
You know
'Cause
what's
that's one of
crazy
the things
though?
I really liked about it.
So I am the complete nerd, I guess, of the group, right? But I throw my kids in a VR headset at least once a day. And it's really interesting because like in school, they're excelling really well in math and sciences because we'll put them in the solar system and they could walk around the solar system and grab planets and interact with them and do a lot of things that you just can't do outdoors.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know what fungus you can eat or not. Like, not a clue. But it's really interesting because I think that we have to develop what balances are between
Yeah.
technologies that we can provide growth and opportunity and not
Yeah.
wasting your life like I did playing video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the balance aspect of it is what it's all about.
Yeah.
You can do you can have the same results through VR, but the experience is just different.
Yeah, you also need to go to the waterfall. It doesn't do the same thing to just see it, but to
Yeah.
know that they exist without the opportunity to go. Because I don't know if it's weird or not, but I feel very strongly that I grew up a military brat. I traveled around the world, but I don't remember the things before age 10. And so right now, I'm waiting until this threshold where I think, based on my experiences, my kids will remember before I go travel.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
weird, right? But at the same time, it's also, when do you start to introduce these concepts? Like, kid you not, my eldest is 6. She asked me in a weird way, okay, so you have a mother and she has a mother, right? But how far back do you have mothers? And what happened before mothers? Were you eggs? And it was really interesting because now you immediately, because of the inquisitive mind of our kids, have to go through, can they handle the topic of evolution?
Yeah.
At what age can that happen? And so I said, all right, well, it's bedtime, so I'm not going to wrinkle your goddamn mind right now, but tomorrow. And then she remembered, and so it was bath time. She goes, so how far back do mothers go? And it was such an innocent question. I go, that famous picture, right, of monkeys turning into men,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, is this an appropriate time to answer that question? Or how are they going to act? No
Yeah.
idea. No idea whatsoever. So I just chanced it and like, this is a good picture. I don't know. They don't teach you how to be parents, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So she took it really well. She goes, "Oh, so a long, long time ago, like 100,000 years," and I was like, "Man, but anyway," she goes, "We used to be monkeys, and then at some point we got smarter, and now we're us." Yeah, I'm not gonna
It's
really
close.
split for six. Fine, whatever. And then
Yeah.
I'm sorry if any of our listeners are now hating me, but how do you? It's really no one really knows. And if you take yourself out of religion and just in the context of education, how do you address those questions? Because do you not answer it because you don't want them to, or do you want to expose them to everything? It's really
I
hard.
mean, I think I would probably, in the same situation, handle it like you. I think there's not going to be a right time to answer those questions other than when they arise. So I
It's
think
super awkward.
it is. I think you have to try to explain it to them the best way you can at their level of understanding like that. Because it would be almost a disservice to them to just dismiss the question and say, I'll tell you when you're older, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I wish, like, because I grew up a very religious family who wouldn't talk about it at all. And then when it comes time to uh, now, when you have a very questioning attitude as well, I mean, into your 30s, right? You're still questioning stuff, going,
Yeah.
is this correct or not?
Yeah.
Why not get that sooner? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I mean, you're not wrong.
yeah, I think you both answered that well because it is you're never going to know when those questions arise, but I think you have to be as upfront as you can, force a child's understanding of it, because you could
Especially
have
because
gone.
they're not going to get all of those aspects in their schooling and stuff like that.
Oh,
The
100%.
schooling in the United States leaves huge holes in all kinds of different life experiences that you as a parent have to try and fill, or at least guide them in the right directions to be able to fill it themselves if they're old enough.
My segue. My daughter now knows the term Google it at 6. And her phrasing is not quite ready for Google yet. So I had to have that talk just this morning about, hey, honey, you can't just Google whatever comes to your mind because you don't know what you're going to see.
Oh, that's too good.
She totally didn't understand, but I mean,
I think you should print out the search history of those and give it to her when she's older, when she like graduates high school.
Yeah.
Just like,
mm,
here's the terms that you were googling at 6.
When you're 6.
let's Google entering a hole. No!
Oh, that's too amazing.
Uh,
Well, kind of loop it back. I just thought that was an interesting study done on religion, but the bigger picture of how technology is changing our world and how we handle that. I think there's that happy balance that you guys were talking about that you have to have. But it will be interesting to kind of see, long term what the effects of some of this is. Because I don't contribute just the religion piece on technology, but I think it plays a massive part towards it.
yeah, because it has to do with development.
Yeah. So, but moving on, I will throw it to one of you guys to pick up the ball and run with it.
Ray, you know my topic. Is this a good segue or you got one better?
No, you can go ahead.
All right. So I thought this was really interesting.
Is this the hippie corner? Should I play some hippie music?
You should. You should. Just dub that over. Actually, so I don't know if you know this or not, but hippie side moment for Tanner, I guess. The Ocean Cleanup Group released their first product. I had signed up as an early donator and whatever else like that, but I am receiving in the mail now a pair of sunglasses made from fishing nets that were received from the Great Pacific Trash. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awareness, like we were kind of talking about. It's helping
And
push that narrative.
yeah, it's not even just awareness. It's now a physical representation of what your money is helping to do that they're sending you guys, which is a great aspect of that.
I thought it was cool. They did a pretty cool launch. And this wasn't my topic, but since you brought up me being a hippie, I guess, but it's really not. I guess I'm just becoming more educated and I want to share because it makes a lot of sense to me. That they even released like a really cool multimedia campaign for the release of their first product. So much so that on the sunglasses, there's a QR code on the side of the frame that if it's scanned, it brings you to your individual web page based on the serial number of those glasses. And it even goes down, if you scroll down through it, it tells you about the mission and what's going on. But it actually has a video of the actual fishing net that was pulled out of that trash pile that turned into your glasses.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so, and the other thing they did was they created an Instagram filter, so you could actually like use that Instagram filter to show the glasses, on your face. But either way, when you buy a set of these glasses, it's stated that you're helping to remove 24 football fields worth of plastic debris from the Great Pacific trash pile when you purchase those.
That's awesome.
So, kind of cool. The overall thing is that they're going to bring trash back. They're going to recycle it into pellets. They're going to produce products from those to fund the removal of more trash. And it's a nonprofit group. So it's pretty cool. I would check it out.
Now we just have to hope all these people don't throw their sunglasses in the trash and they end up in a landfill.
So interestingly enough, they covered that topic pretty extensively on the launch that said, one, because of the QR code, they're hoping that many people would scan it to see what it is. And they have a lost and found feature that was actually rolled out with the production of the glasses. Two, there's only 4 or 5 metal components to the total glasses for ease of recycling. And 3, they actually offered overall, if you don't know how to recycle your glasses towards end of life, to contact them directly and they'll help you do it or take them off of you.
Well, sounds like they're trying to do everything possible to make it,
Easy for someone to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, the ocean cleanup, they're not the only group out there, but I was actually turned on to it from the Joe Rogan podcast when he had Buoyant or whatever Buoyant his name is on the back end. I'm sorry, I fucked that up. But anyway, he was on there and he was one of those kids that, was like 16-year-olds that said, why can't we do it? And then he totally did it with his life. And I'm envious of that level of drive. And so I admire it a bit.
Yeah. For
but
sure.
now to my topic.
Okay.
That aside, COVID-19 innovations, right? So all 3 of us live in the United States. And I don't think it's a controversial thing to say we're slow for innovation related to COVID-19.
Yep.
So I thought it was interesting that to look overall at the world, some case studies about what type of innovation exists related to the COVID-19 pandemic and how people are addressing those. So first, some people, like they had original use cases like Panornoid Fans, right? That's a business that used to help sports fans find parking spots and get food delivered to their stadium seats. Obviously, with the COVID-19 pandemic, that business model just tanked.
Yeah.
So what they ended up doing was using that exact same model of their app locations to help support food banks and streamline their logistics and delivering and rebranding themselves totally to Neptune is what it was. Another one was they had JetBlue, right? So JetBlue is a US based plane. I don't know, what do you call it? Airline service? That's what you
airline,
thanks.
Yeah.
All right, so
they own more than one plane.
Yeah, a plane. No, all right, let's drink to that.
Do they though? Do they?
Yeah, I don't know anymore.
So anyway, JetBlue paired with Imperfect Foods, right? You guys remember that service that delivered like, oh, your apple has a dimple. Let's still use it, right? So they paired with them to sell surplus cheese and snack trays through the online grocery marketplace. In addition, United Airlines started to let logistic flyers order their signature in-flight, so they call it stroopwafels, for home delivery. So airline industries who used to have this amount of food actually started offering it to their airline customers. Another one, a Japanese company had a specific type of plastic bottle that was shaped like a fish that was typically used for soy sauce. They started repurposing that for actual sanitation. So hand sanitizer was then used in soy sauce packages and distributed out there. Most interesting, Trojan condoms, right? So while couples, I'm going to read this directly from
Did that
COVIDinnovations.com.
go up? Did their stock go up as COVID hit?
I'm sure. So while couples, again, COVIDinnovations.com, while couples spent more time together at home during COVID, the Trojan survey April 2020 showed that only 19% of people were having more sex with their partners, while 37% were baking more instead. So Trojan Condoms created a cookbook called Rising Times with 69 pages of sensual baking and surprisingly suggestive bread photography.
That's amazing.
Right? I know. Unilever, right? We all know that company.
Yep.
They held career fairs. God, I've been drinking too much. Hold on.
Drink more.
Unilever, a Russian company, held career fairs in an 8-bit version that allowed you to tour their prospective companies' offices and learn more about the job details while communicating virtually with their people. How about some more innovations that are interesting? Self-timing soap. So a soap dispenser or capsule that is designed to dissolve within 30 seconds of use. So that way you're using it, and by the time it's gone, it's actually the appropriate time for washing. The disinfecting toaster. Put in your electronics, push it down, and use UV light to disinfect your electronics. That's from Lee Sungwook. Virus-killing robots. So using UV robots to go through warehousing to disinfect the boxes. I mean, these are some really interesting things that people are innovating on in the COVID time, not to mention what, I'm talking about a VR usage in terms of trying to escape or replicate things, virus-killing fabrics, the whole incorporation of the fashion industry on scarves and using face coverings and things like that. But I'll stop there because, again, COVIDinnovations.com really turned me on to what are people doing in this time to help make our future more, I don't know, innovative, both and then, encompassing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say there, locally, we had quite a few breweries that ended up
Every time we misspeak, we got to drink.
ended up making hand sanitizer for sale because that was right when it happened and you couldn't find hand sanitizer anywhere.
Yep. Quite a few out here that did the same thing.
I will say that the company I work for, they have two mattress manufacturing companies in China. And kind of with everything going on, what they ended up doing is changing that plant within 48 hours of the U.S. shutting down, basically. And we're producing masks next day. So it's kind of interesting just to kind of keep with one, because we need them for our own companies that we, had to air freight them in from China because we couldn't find them anywhere. But it was definitely something that was, find a problem, fix it. And that was probably less of a, I don't know how many mattresses they were selling and all of that information or manufacturing.
Right.
I'm sure it was more of a need for the masks more than anything.
Yeah.
Do you think it'd be interesting, a case study on how the logistics on supply chain changed dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic and how much of it was influenced by social media?
Yeah, I would be interested to know that because
that's what I thought about when Brandon was talking. I was like, oh my God, how do you dynamically shift supply chain so much and then distribute those products?
I was thinking the same thing when he brought it up. I heard so many reports of that. And it's not even just supply chain, it's tooling in these factories. They're set up for one thing most of the time. And a lot of them were able to somehow change overnight or within a few days to make a totally different product product than what they're used to developing.
It has to be connections and networking, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has
to be.
I think, and I think this is it's a test and all of these companies that you've mentioned. Part of it is probably keeping them in business, right, as of today.
At a necessity, right? Yeah,
necessity.
absolutely.
So, changes that had to be made. It will be interesting to kind of see as well as who cut corners eventually, because I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Down the road we're going to have lawsuits on this mask, whatever it may be. But I'm sure some of that also comes out in this. But yeah, no, I totally agree with the supply chain, case study. And
have you seen some of those Harvard Business Reviews of tsunamis and how they affect supply chain?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I hope there's another one. If you guys find it, please let me know, because that would be so interesting, like what you're talking about, where you can retool, distribute, and find buyers for a product within a couple of months. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I found the big, when I talk about the manufacturing side of it, it's impressive, but also these local businesses that, once again, out of necessity to help their community. How many other brewers, made hand sanitizer before? Like those type of things that just they saw a need and decided to fix or help.
All kinds of other industries too. To tie it into my interests, there's a lot of companies out there that develop suppressor covers and fabric goods used in the shooting world and different stuff like that. A lot of them overnight switched to making masks and sending them to people where there were mask mandates and where it was necessary in the medical field to have the masks where people wouldn't normally have them available so quickly. So they were able to provide through their communities.
We have to say that a suppressor releases a lot of heat that then creates a bunch of waves of heat over your scope. And so a suppressor cover then suppresses that radiant heat, so you no longer get parallax or additional, mirage. Thank you, from your scope. That's cool. Do you know any companies that did that? Because I wasn't aware of that. I kind of stepped out of the gun game for a bit there.
I'd have to find them again.
That's really cool, because the other one is Surefire. That's my biggest one that I mess with. But
I don't know the companies for sure. I want to say Short Action Precision was one of them, but I know there was a handful.
That'd be cool for follow up too, because I mean that's kind of amazing. I didn't think of that either, right? Because it's like, yes, they develop multi-layer fabric specific for a need.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they make a mask? That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Brain shock.
Yeah, another wrinkle just went through there.
No, but it's definitely interesting. It was, with the uptick in cases in the United States right now, it'll be interesting to kind of see if more innovation's still coming, or, we're past that initial phase of that big push for COVID innovation. Because, some of the companies that could have innovated or tried to have failed and gone out of business by now, and those type of things that you hate to say, but it's part of it.
So I found a couple of the companies that did do that shift. It's Blue Alpha Gear and Coltac. Both of them make all kinds of different tactical fabric goods. So, I mean, both of them switched basically overnight from making their normal belts and vests and bags, all kinds of different tactical stuff. They all switched over to make masks. But
yeah, no, it's
awesome.
Super impressive to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
I will say, it is interesting, like the JetBlue one. It's something I don't know how successful it's doing right now.
I don't either, but you and I travel a lot, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, who would actually home order food from an airplane?
Yeah, no. It like when you said it, it didn't make sense to me. Like, one, if you're lucky if you get food on a plane anymore,
right?
And their meals weren't that great. It's not Emirates. So
right, and I can get Bostic like cookies for my coffee at the grocery store. Like, I don't need to mail order that.
Exactly. So.
Is that the name of it? The little red bag thing?
Yeah, I don't remember. It starts with a B. That's all.
It does. And after a long season of travel, when I get to December normally, I do buy a pack of those just to dip in the coffee to be a full of nostalgia.
Well, no, it'll be interesting to kind of see. Like I said, it'll be interesting with the uptick that the United States has seen recently. If more innovation happens and things like that. So
I think the longer this continues, the more of it we're going to have to see.
Out of necessity.
Obviously, yeah. I don't. I don't think things are going to go back to normal for a while. So,
Well, did you see today? It's had to be 6 hours ago now. The White House chief of staff said we're not going to contain the virus. That we're 100% relying on a vaccine.
I didn't see that, but it
Oh
also
yeah,
surprised me.
sorry, Google News. It just pops up. I got the headline and whatever. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
yeah, well, that's definitely it's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how the states react as well. As okay, well, that's what you may be saying, but that's not what we're doing. You know, I know I was just talking before the podcast started. Is Italy, is shutting down cinemas, pools, gyms as of Monday to help bring it back down as well. So further uptick that they've seen in Italy. So
Yeah, some of those countries are probably more prone to do it as well because they were hit significantly harder, just
Right,
like
early. And they have
the
an
United.
older population.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's why you see a lot of U.S. cities that were hit harder by it that have a higher population are also making those more proactive moves than maybe some other states and cities that didn't necessarily see such a huge hit from it.
Yeah.
Does anybody else, like the three of us, are you getting concerned about our inability to travel abroad?
I mean, it's already affected me just based on, trying to go on vacation and not being able to leave the continental United States. Me and the wife had to cancel our trip to Hawaii for our anniversary because the airline canceled the flight and Hawaii was still under lockdown when we were supposed to go. So,
And I noticed that as well. Brandon, you?
Um, I think long term, that's not sustainable to make that happen.
Right. But in the short term,
In the
has it
short
affected
term,
you?
it has not. I will say my dad, he travels and my puppy's coming to say hi. So
I see that.
I apologize. My dad travels for work, and he's basically all international flights. And so for him, it's been hard because he's been stuck at home the entire time, and he's normally gone, 300 days out of the year, and this year he's been gone maybe 10. So,
Oh, I bet your mom is just pissed.
something like that. So,
Yeah.
no, but it definitely is a huge change for people. But hopefully, the vaccine is the only. I think for international, that's going to be your only solve all quickly. That changes things.
UK, I forget which company because it's been a week, but they have some promising news about at least U.S. approval within the month of November, not November 3rd, not November 4th, but before the end of the year approval. And they've already invested significant capital in order to develop a lot of vaccines, and hopefully yes, because if we objectively look at it, that's our only hope.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, we want to pass this last topic off to you, Ray.
Yeah, I mean, mine's short and sweet if you guys want to.
We're
hit it real
approaching
quick before we end.
our time anyways, so let's knock it out.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to bring up the fact that PayPal this week has announced that they're going to open up cryptocurrency trading on their platform,
Cool.
which is really big for the whole cryptocurrency community. It's just most of the major ones right now. I know they're doing Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, I would assume, some of those other bigger names, but they're going to allow. I got the article pulled up here.
Yeah, I saw that. That one's a very interesting one, just because it is such a major company buying into this and giving that option.
That is the last big company to buy into blockchain in general was Western Union, I believe.
Yeah.
That was a few months ago. They've adopted blockchain for their cross-border transfers, which was already a big bump, but a lot of
Well,
investors are saying that's why Bitcoin's going to go on a bull run here soon. But this
so it's
has more.
weird. Is that I was looking, don't trust Reddit, disclaimer. But what's really interesting is that if you look at, countries of volatility that have fluctuation in currency right now, like Venezuela, that there's kind of a drive to adopt cryptocurrency, but the fluctuations day to day lead that you might invest $600 tomorrow, but it might be $200 the next day. Yeah. And that businesses overall are really slow to adopt cryptocurrency because of that fluctuation and what an individual unit price of a basket of goods is going to cost between day to day. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting that if PayPal adopts that how is that going to be for not the payer, right? Because the payer wants, kind of like an investor, they want resiliency in their investment over time.
Yeah.
But as countries have volatility and inflation and other things that, really drive the, the cost of their dollar, over time, how can they leverage individual governments and their inability to create stability through cryptocurrency? And I think that was really interesting based on, Facebook tried to create I think it was a cryptocurrency towards the FTC last year. And overall, the world said, F that, because you have so many overall users that you would literally kill any government currency because of your active users.
Yeah.
That's probably for a different time because I can't explore it all right now, but great topic, Ray.
Yeah, we can explore it in the future. I just thought it was interesting that large of a player in the financial game was jumping on it, because unfortunately, when massive moves like this are made, it causes even more volatility in the industry for a while. And the only real way to get rid of that volatility, to make it a viable currency instead of just an investment platform, is widespread adoption. There's no other way around it. There's a reason the USD moves the way it does, and it isn't as influenced by outside sources picking it up and getting rid of it.
Right, because it's useless as it is.
Yeah.
No, it will be interesting to see how they use that, and it'll be interesting as well to see, how they end up using it. Are they willing to convert it to US dollars? Are they, I would assume so to some degree, that, payouts and all of that. But, I always, when I think about PayPal, I think about eBay. Is, eBay the next one to allow PayPal to, allow purchases through crypto?
I mean, it depends on how much PayPal allows, but a vendor like that is not necessarily going to be able to restrict it, because if PayPal is accepting of it as a form of payment, then anyone using PayPal to purchase through eBay or any other website is going to be able to use it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's going to be the same as if it's being transferred from your bank or a credit card or your PayPal balance. It's all stored in the same place. It's all money. So.
And there's a volatility for vendors because the timestamp of the purchase really dictates the cost.
Yeah.
Versus when they actually realize the receival of the cryptocurrency.
And it depends on what PayPal does on the back end of that. If they transfer it at the time and it's converted to the seller's choice of currency, so at time of sale, if it converts this
if they can do it
USD, which is the advantage of blockchain. It's supposed to be able to be an instantaneous transfer of funds in whichever currency is.
Yeah, where you have a specific timestamp, because that's what all blockchain is, and why it's a really secure for. Go ahead, Bert.
I can't wait to buy stuff and then return it when the crypto's higher.
That is an interesting aspect of that argument, because.
Or does PayPal keep the cut?
Right.
I mean,
that's
outside
amazing.
of that, but if it is timestamped, you would imagine if it's converted to USD at time of sale, it's going to be converted from whatever they bought it for in USD or whatever the preferred currency was back to them.
Yeah, but how much actual energy, right? Because that's the always thing about blockchain, is because it takes a lot of energy to maintain the logs of when things are bought and sold or transferred, yada yada yada. But could you, like, how much would that be to backlog a transferred blockchain?
I'm
That's
sure. I'm
supposed to
sure they
be
thought
an
about it though.
aspect. That's also supposed to be an aspect of blockchain is not
It's
non-traceable, but it is limited traceability because of that reason.
right. Yeah. And
So it
so,
is. It's interesting, and there's definitely, because it's not a widespread currency and widely adopted currency yet, there's going to be all those hurdles that it has to jump through, just like any blooming currency.
Yeah,
But
but
I mean, as far as the argument that returns at a later date, every currency fluctuates. So if sellers were doing that for any blockchain currency, what's going to stop them doing that USD? It was $12 3 days ago. It's 11.94 now. I'm only going to give you 11.94 back.
right.
yeah, no, I just when I think of crypto, you think of that volatility.
Yeah.
There is a lot more drastic than the USD. But it will be interesting. But I think it is a huge step for crypto with PayPal jumping up and who follows suit because PayPal sees something in it that they see potential in it. So,
Yeah.
huh. Well, that's an interesting topic. Any other final thoughts on that?
No, I just think it's going to be something interesting to watch as the days go on. It is fairly new news just this week, and I mean, Bitcoin's already gone up almost $1,000 this week. So
Yeah.
I got to check my Bitcoin investment.
It was down quite a bit, but
Oh yeah, drastic. After that huge peak, it dropped and hadn't recovered really until.
it's been a steady increase all year. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, absolutely.
nothing
Absolutely.
what it was compared to
Yeah.
that.
I mean, it's within.
I wish I could have invested 6 years ago.
I think I was watching a YouTube clip on some guy that he, I think he did something with crypto, put in like $100,000 into crypto when it was first out, sold it like 2 years later, and could have been a billionaire or something like that. Some crazy.
I just
Yeah.
realized, looking at my screen, my glass matched my shirt.
Yeah.
That means you drank too much.
Probably.
All right. Any final thoughts before we check out?
No, nothing from me.
Tanner?
No, it was a fun podcast. I'm glad I'm back, and I apologize for last week, but it was worth it.
We expect lunch to be bought and brought to our houses.
I don't.
You can send JetBlue. I don't care. Well, no, we appreciate our listeners and our subscribers on YouTube and all of our other platforms. Please make sure to give us a follow on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, Twitter, so on and so forth. We will continuously post, hopefully more and more as time goes on. Make sure you click that bell, hit the subscribe button, and we appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week.